toll-free at 416-322-5996.
On Saturday night, over 4 million kids across Canada are expected to hit the streets in their scariest costumes in search of delicious sugar treats. Each child usually bags between 500 and 100 pieces of candy. 1/5 of those will eat all of their goodies in one night, while most of them will take up to 2 weeks to finish theirs. With childhood obesity and diabetes rates at all-time highs, the annual sugar rush has nutritionists and dentists sending out their annual warnings. One dentist in Des Moines is offering cash for candy by offering $1 for each pound of candy returned to her. For the candy industry, it's their second biggest month, with sales expected to top $300 million. With the swine flu scare ever present, here are some tips from doctors on how to avoid getting H1N1 from Halloween candy. Scoop or hand the candy to your kids. Don't allow them to grab it themselves. This is a tough one. Let your children's candy sit for at least 2 days so the germs on the candy wrappers die. You can also wipe the wrapper down with a disinfectant wipe. Once it has dried or evaporated completely, it should be safe. And the best advice is to hand wash before consuming any candy. Welcome back to Canoe Live. For the next 2 days or so, getting healthy foods into your kids may be particularly challenging with Halloween at our doorstep. But is it possible to be healthy for Halloween? Here to help us answer that and other questions about nutrition are two leading experts. David Grotto has worked in the natural foods industry for more than 25 years and is the author of 101 Foods That Could Save Your Life. Also in studio, Dr. Gregor Schrott. He is the head of infant nutrition with Hero Foods Canada and a father of 2. It's a pleasure to have you both here.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Gregor, let's start with you. We've come a long way with messaging for children when it comes to healthy eating. In your opinion, where does that messaging start?
Well, I think it's all about advancing nutrition. And there are two main things. And I think it starts with the parents. The first one is that we are all role models. At that age, when they're young, they're like sponges. They observe and learn about the world. So if daddy pours in the morning 6 or 7 cubes of sugar into the coffee, that's probably not the best thing to do. So parents should be role models. And the second thing, I think we have an obligation to be informed and learn how to read nutrition facts tables to make better choices for our kids without sacrificing nutrition.
Now, we were talking earlier about the swine flu, David. What are some of the foods that we can eat at this time of the year to boost our immune systems?
Absolutely. Well, especially focused for children, I think those things that we have sitting on the stoops to scare children, like those scary pumpkins, just don't carve them up to scare children. Scoop out the innards and actually start cooking that up. Pumpkins are extremely rich in beta-carotene, which has been shown to actually boost your immune system. So it may give a nutritional advantage to your children to go ahead and fight H1N1 and other colds and flus. And in fact, it doesn't have to be just the kids who are trick-or-treating, but maybe those kids in the baby carriage as well, with jarred baby food that is also very rich in that as well, too. I think also some other great foods are those things that are delicious to kids that are rich in vitamin C. I really recommend strawberries. They're great. You can actually get them all year long now. Actually, California strawberries are available in any grocery store. And actually, there's over 160% of the daily requirement of vitamin C in just 1 cup of strawberries, and kids love them.
Now, I want to pick up more on a point you just made, Gregor, talking about nutrition labels. What are some tips that you can offer parents on how to simplify that whole nutrition reading label? You know, it's a mystery for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I worked in several countries around the world, and I think Canadians are blessed with strong bodies like the CFA and Health Canada that make sure that all the products you find in the store have a nutrition facts table. So, and it's overwhelming. There are lots of hundreds, there are hundreds of numbers, and nutrition is not an exact science. So what I would recommend parents to do is, when in doubt which product to choose, just take 2 labels and compare them. There are 2 things that I'm especially after. One is the sodium. Just compare the sodium content of these 2 products and choose the one with the lower one. And second, look in the ingredient listing. If you find a word like sugar or corn syrup very high up, because the stuff that is mentioned at the beginning is the largest amount in there. And I think if moms and dads would start looking towards these 2 points, it would be already a good start.
Now, speaking of sugar, Is it possible to try and encourage your kids to have a healthy Halloween, and how in the world do we do that?
Absolutely. You know, I also, like Gregor, am a father. I have 3 daughters, and one of the things they look forward to every year is to go out trick-or-treating, and they want to eat candy. And this is a true confession from a nutritionist. I eat candy, my children eat candy, but I think the key is that we put it in perspective. I also want to make sure my kids are not eating candy out while they're trick-or-treating and they're responding to hunger. So one of the first things we do is that we give them a nice, nutritious meal. We also kind of satisfy that sweet tooth with, you know, some of the fruits we were just talking about here, as fact. And then also, it's the parenting message that you just really so eloquently put together. We dole out the candy. We're in charge. And the kids are great with that. And plus, they get a longer period of time that they get to enjoy it. It's not just one day of enjoying it.
That's true. You talked about having lived in different countries. How does nutrition in general compare in Europe, because that's where you were last, I believe, compared to Canada?
One thing I noticed here is when it comes to the baby aisle. So you go to the supermarket and look for baby food, that here you find dedicated foods for toddlers, which do not exist to that extent over in Europe. So I think Canada is at the forefront of providing age-specific foods that are designed for the needs of these little ones.
And last word to you, what is some quick tips that you can give to overwhelmed parents when it comes to just, you know, maintaining a healthy diet in the family?
Absolutely. One of the things that research has shown us is that when we can get kids involved early on, and not only the preparation of the food, but the procurement, bring them shopping, have them help in the meal planning. It's critical to have them do that. I always say from farm to plate, get your children involved, and the research is showing that they're more apt to choose those foods that are richer in nutrients. In fact, a baby manufacturer of food also found out that you may have to introduce foods as many as 17 times to toddlers in order to make that part of their own vocabulary of food, if you will.
Right.
So my message to parents is don't give up the ship. Continue to put out those good foods, and the kids will come along for the ride.
Great advice. Thanks to you both.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Now we want to hear about your plans for managing Halloween candy with your children. Please visit our blog at suntvnews.ca. We're going to take a break right now, but when we come back, we've got sports and entertainment.
Still to come on Canoe Live, who's Tyler Myers and why you should have him on your fantasy hockey team.
But up next, a new documentary.